Today we are going to talk about what Ruffin McNeill said about his corners and DBs playing 7-10 yards off the ball, and surprise, surprise, probably gonna lose your mind. And all this coming up after the bumper.
What do you mean you don't subscribe to my son's YouTube channel?
Mama, no!
Just snap the damn ball, RJ.
What's up, kid folks? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always OU related, college football related, sports related. We have a good time. And today I'm at the Benson, which is a coastal hotel in Portland, Oregon, because right now, when the video is live, I am on a plane from Portland to Miami. I don't know how that works. I just know that I got to get to Miami for the Miami Book Fair, where I'm going to talk about my book, Let It Bang. And we're doing this in my hotel room, which has crappy lighting. And you can see right there, this is a lamp. You see what I did there? If you watch the show, you know what I did there. So first, shout out to Ben Powers, who is a semifinalist for the Outland Trophy. And more to the point, shout out to Ben Powers' dad, Todd, who is an excellent follow on Twitter. He is everything you would expect an offensive lineman's dad to be. I mean, some of those tweets are just flat out awesome. Also, shout out to Marquise Brown, who is up for the Biletnikoff Award, which is given to the nation's best wide receiver, as we know. And we know some things about the nation's best wide receivers because a couple of those dudes faced Oklahoma in the previous 2 weeks. Antoine Wesley at Texas Tech, Tylan Wallace at Oklahoma State, and that's particularly important. Why? Because those are the number 2 and number 3 ranked receivers in all of football. Like the guy at number 1 is a dude from UMass, because, you know, UMass is playing Power 5 teams. No, they're not. Except they're going to get drilled this weekend by an SEC team. Not a good look. Not a good look for SEC teams. You see what I did there? If you look at the SEC schedule this week, 11-17, you're probably going to blow a gasket. Like, the best of this schedule out of conference this week for the SEC is LSU playing Rice. And we all know about Alabama playing Citadel. And Nick Saban's having to answer questions about whether he's even going to play a Tua Tagovailoa in that game because, well, it's Citadel. That's how much respect the rest of us have for Citadel. Do I need to say Citadel again? Or is the playoff committee really going to take into account Citadel? Because the SEC schedule for 11-17 is an absolute joke. Except selection committee doesn't really seem to care. I mean, they're looking at the eye test. They're looking at how great Alabama is. And we all know that they think the SEC is a great conference. That's why you have a 2-loss LSU team in the top 10. But back to my point about the wide receivers that Oklahoma's faced. Tylan Wallace, Antoine Wesley, those guys basically averaged 210 yards receiving and 10 catches when they played against Oklahoma. And every time we're asking why, like we've been asking for like years now, why are the DBs playing 7 and 10 yards off the ball? Matter of fact, I made a video about this in the offseason. And Ruffin McNeill, God bless him, he tried, but what he said didn't make a whole lot of sense to those of us that are watching the games. So when he was asked about whether or not you thought about pressing man, you know, to get into these wide receivers' faces and perhaps jam them off the ball, he said, well, it's about you got to recognize the routes. Because we know that if you press, you're going to see a deep fade, a fade, or a post route. Okay, so number 1, if you know those are the routes that are coming, as a DB, as a corner, you know what to do to stop them. Number 2, you have another defender. It's called the sideline. You can get into that guy's hip pocket and you can sense fade, you can sense deep go route, you can sense a post, and you can make a play as defensive back on the ball. Like, that just doesn't make a whole lot of sense on the surface. The next one that he said was, like, if you got off the ball, you can recognize more routes. You can recognize stop routes, you can recognize hooks, you can recognize slants. Yeah, you can recognize them, but you can't close on them. That's the other thing. I understand that human beings are faster running forward than they are running backward, but part of being a defensive back is dropping your hits, turning and going. And it doesn't matter if you recognize a 3-yard hitch route if there's 4 yards of separation between you and the wide receiver. He's going to catch the ball and he's going to make a play. And then he said, there's a lot of times where we'll be in man coverage, but to the naked eye, you won't know that. Yeah, because you're not in man coverage. Like, you have man principles on the board, but you're also telling your corners and DBs to play 7 to 10 yards off the ball in man? Look, where I'm from, man coverage means press. Why does it mean press? Because you are trying to make it difficult on the wide receiver to get a free release. And if you give a wide receiver a free release, he has all the momentum running forward or out or whatever. And as a wide receiver, I coach route running technique, which means that if I'm running an out route, I'm going to run to your inside leg so I have more separation for my deep out. The same goes for my deep in. It's not really that difficult, except when you make it more difficult on the corners and the safeties who have to play off the ball and then close and or be caught standing flat-footed, and then there goes the wide receiver down the sideline for a 50-yard go route and score. I get it. You're trying to run pattern matching. What is pattern matching? You notice those plays where you see wide receivers are crisscrossing and the DBs don't run with them. That's because they're recognizing the patterns and they're handing off. I hate that because it makes it really difficult on your secondary because they no longer just get to play football. They got to turn it into a math problem. And you're also teaching your secondary to play the ball and not the man. And if I'm coaching corners, I don't want them to have to think about playing the ball before it's in the air. So there's a lot of this that just smarts. You don't feel real good when your defensive coordinator says, number one, we do run man, we just don't run press. Number two, we have a reason for running them 7 yards off the ball, 10 yards off the ball, which means that we're willing to give up 3rd and 3. We're willing to give up 3rd and 5 because we think these cushions are important. And then the one that's probably going to drive everybody nutty is that he said, we're still teaching the kids how to notice these things when they're playing corner and defensive back. To which the rest of us have said, yo man, we've been watching this for like 2-3 years minimum, and it doesn't work. Perhaps it's time to go away from it, and you're at a point with the defense where folks are just so mad and so upset that they want you to try anything that looks different. Because if you keep this up, you have shown Oklahoma's secondary in particular is going to get torched, to which I say, blitz. Come on, man. You got nothing else to lose here. Put the kids in man coverage. Let them press. Let them try to get into somebody's chili to get that clock running and give your defensive line, your linebackers, the opportunity to go hit a quarterback. Because even if the quarterback completes a pass, you're going to hit him. And the more you hit a quarterback, the more he starts to flinch, the more he starts to make mistakes. We know this. Yes, you're liable to give up a big play, but we'd rather give up a big play than die by 1,000 cuts, especially with this offense. Oklahoma's a team that needs the ball to win. That's just it. We're not going to be able to shut people down. We're just going to have the ball last. And if they score fast, fine. We'll take the ball, we'll score again, and we'll play this game of keeping serve. That's where you are for the rest of the season. And then in the offseason, you can talk about going to get a new defensive coordinator and putting in a new scheme. However, I don't know that folks are going to be as high on a Pete Golden anymore because he runs a 3-4. And yes, there are teams that can run a 3-man line and make it work, and Oklahoma can be one of those teams, but I don't know that that's anything that fans want to see. Or maybe you do try to go get Alex Grinch from Ohio State. Point is, whatever it is you decide to go do, you're going to have to get results next year. But for the remaining game, I would love to see Oklahoma dial up 5- and 6-man blitzes, run some fire zones, put the DBs in press man coverage, and see if you can't go make something happen with a forced fumble or get lucky with a pick because you rushed a throw. All right, that's it for me. Deuces.